some good news about all the things going one street over from where you live in here in Robertson County. And we appreciate all you guys that are in Points Beyond. And of course, because we are a worldwide Christian broadcast company, we've got people that just chime into this show from all over the place. Maybe some of the folks back home will see you on here. Miss Tiffany Thomson's here. Hello, how you doing?
Good.
So good to see you this morning.
I know. Good to be here.
She comes walking in. I'm like, you know what? I was just because I went to Brian's. Normally we have United Way come in at 7:30. She's been part of that for how long did you do? How long were you?
Almost
at
2 years.
Yeah, so about 2 years. I've been doing this show a long time. I've been like. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So it was so funny because you would come in and people are seeing you're like, oh, it's United Way's day, but she's not here for United Way.
Not anymore.
Well,
no.
and it was so funny because I was thinking as I was plugging in the names and stuff, and I was like, okay, Brian's bringing in the person who replaced you, when you moved on, and then I saw the note. Brian says he's not here today.
Oh, dang.
So it's like, oh well. So you want to hang out for an hour?
I can't hang out the whole hour, but I can hang out a little bit longer. Yeah.
That's cool. And we've got all kinds of things we need to talk about because there's so much going on around the county. There's just so many things happening. I'll talk about as we get on into the show. I'll talk a little bit more once we finish with Tiffany. We'll talk a little bit about some of the things I've got scheduled for next week as far as guests and some of the things we're going to unpack because I'm going to be gone. Let me just remind everybody, I'm going to be gone the last 2 weeks of July. We've got our mission trip that we're getting ready to go on. We're going to Mexico, and this is something I do every year. I've been doing it for many, many years, and I've just got people that are family to me down in El Rosario and in Ensenada and all that. So doing that, then I'm getting my left knee replaced right before school starts. People think I'm crazy, but the week before. So I'll be going back to school on my little walker.
So did you have your other knee done, or you did?
My right's done,
and you're just already back.
Yeah, it's been a month. It's been 4 weeks.
A month. Oh my goodness.
It's been 4 weeks. Two of her boys were out working with me yesterday, and I have to stay seated a lot because. I got my doctor that is doing my knee surgery. He had to go out of town, and so he's like, I need you to come in 2 days so we can evaluate you for your next knee replacement. So I get in there and talking about some of the things I'm doing, and he's like, what are you thinking?
Right?
But you're supposed to be taking it easy. He's like, and all this kind of stuff. And I get real impatient. So
I can imagine rest is harder for you than anything.
Yeah. It's kind of, honestly, every now and then it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But then, within about 2 days, I'm like, okay, I'm going out of my mind. I can't sit here any longer.
Yeah.
And so my doctor even, and we're going to talk more about, one of the things I'm going to talk about next week is I've got my physical therapist, Bethany Tees is coming in, and she's going to talk about how if you're having joint issues, joint replacement is just, it's a modern miracle. I mean, it is a modern medical miracle. It truly is. Now, take your supplements. That stuff works to keep your cartilage built up. Do it now. My husband's, he saved one of his knees because he started doing that 20 years ago. So do those things. That's good for you. But once you're bone on bone, there's not a lot you can do.
Right.
So, nonetheless, we're going to talk about that with Bethany. And then I haven't officially invited Bill, but Bill Jones had the knee replacement.
I just saw him on Tuesday.
And he's doing fabulous. But we both had different doctors that approach it differently. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit. I'm very partial to my doctor. But Dr. Hodrick's just a rock star. But nonetheless, he's going to talk about his experiences versus mine. And also, too, he's got a few years on me.
Just a couple.
Yeah. And so he's older than you think he is when you look at him because he looks so fit. But so I have to go, I'm a little younger than you. So of course I should be doing a little bit better. But
my mom had both of her knees replaced. Yeah. And the first one was I was a senior in college. So it was like 20, maybe more than that years ago.
Right.
And then she had her next one done 10 years later. And just how much it had changed in that 10 years was so different. Like she bounced back so much faster from her second one. Her first one was really hard because I actually came home this summer during my senior year to help take care of her. And then the second one, it was a lot easier on her. So it's
amazing, guys. But that's one of the things I said I was going to do that at the end of the show here, but that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. I've got to talk about Gypsies getting ready to open tomorrow night up at Coopertown Middle. That's the Robertson County Players. I'll talk about that too. But I am really, really curious about what you're doing because I don't really understand it. And I have a lot of people ask me because they know we're friends. And I said, well, we really haven't had time to sit down and talk about it to understand the nuances of it. And I hear because it's Safe Baby Court.
Right.
That's what we call it. Okay?
Yes.
Safe Baby Court. I am so blessed to be on the recovery court board. And we also have a mental health court and all of those things. Yeah. So I understand all of that. And I kind of feel like, okay, there's a nuance. You work with Sean and them over at Open Door in some way, right? Do you?
Open Door is a partner of ours, yes. Okay. And so they're a provider is what I should say. Partner's the United Way word. They're a provider for Safe Baby Court. So yes, so we'll be working a lot with Open Door.
And she mentioned you last week.
Oh, did she?
And so I'm kind of going, okay. Help me understand, what is Safe Baby Court? Because it's brand new.
It's brand new to Robertson County. Yes.
How did you get involved?
Okay, so
unpack it for us. So this is Tiffany Thomson. Just let me make it. She was part of United Way, and she left United Way and went over to Safe Baby Court. And I don't really understand what that is. And one thing, too, that Sean mentioned, the baby drop-off. What is that thing?
Safe Haven.
Safe Haven.
Yes.
That's something completely different.
Completely different.
We're all kind of together.
Yes, and that's a very common misconception. In fact, that's usually what I start out when people ask me about Safe Baby Court. I'm like, it is not the Safe Haven baby box.
Okay.
And that is, I get that a lot. And in Robertson County, those both started about the same time. And so a lot of people were like, wow, you're doing a lot of work. Do we really have that many babies being dropped off? And I was like, no, they're completely different. If you want, you could have the girl that's over that on the show. She would probably love to come talk about it, but we're not connected. So the Safe Haven baby box is at the fire station. And that is where somebody who has had, and I don't know the exact details because I'm not involved in it, but I think it's like within 30 days of the baby being born, they can go drop the baby off at the fire station. No questions asked. Nobody has to even see them. But they can leave the baby there and the baby will be taken care of and adopted. And so there are a lot of moms that find themselves in situations where they thought they could handle it and now they don't feel like they can, but they don't really know where to go or where to turn to. And so that option is there. It's definitely better than freaking out and putting your baby in a garbage can, and that happens. So that's what the Safe Haven baby box is, and I'm not at all involved in that, and I probably won't ever be. Because as far as connected to Safe Baby Court, because it's anonymous. They can leave their baby and they can walk away. And so what I work with families that are under court supervision. So they've been involved with DCS. And one of the qualifying things is that they need to have a child in the age range of 0 to 3. Now, once they do, I can serve the whole family, but that's the safe baby part of it. Like, we really want to focus on those little, most vulnerable members of our population and make sure that we're putting them first. As we know, the judicial system is set up really to keep adults' legal rights intact, right? And that's its whole purpose, is to keep adults' legal rights intact. Children don't really have a lot of legal rights. As far as, they have some, but we, in our society, adults are the ones with the power, right? And so that is really how the system's set up. And we have guardian ad litems that focus on the children's legal rights. And that's an attorney for the children. So when they're involved in DCS, they're always assigned a guardian ad litem. If they're lucky, they're also assigned a CASA. And then they have, both parents have an attorney and the state has an attorney. So you've got 4 attorneys up there kind of, all looking out for the best legal interest of that child or that person in the case. And so my job is to, kind of think outside the legal realm, and what's in the best interest of the child as far as their mental health goes. Like, their mental health is the forefront of this. So we have learned that moving a baby from house to house to house, each one of those is a new trauma. Mm-hmm. So I know we've talked about ACEs probably on this before. So ACEs are adverse childhood experiences. And this is something that we've been studying since like the 90s and have learned that the more adverse childhood experiences a person faces, the more physical and emotional health problems they have as an adult. It actually started from an insurance company being like, how come some adults are healthy and some aren't? What's going on? And they went back and found out that if somebody had a lot of adverse childhood experiences, they were not as healthy as adults, like physically healthy. And then we also realized, oh, they're also not as emotionally healthy. Their mental health suffers also. And adverse childhood experiences can mean anything from a divorce, which could, and we know divorces can kind of be on a range. Some of them are very peaceful and some of them are not. But also like a parent being incarcerated or child abuse or sexual abuse or, those types of being bullied at school. Those are the adverse childhood experiences. We're now starting to learn a lot more about positive childhood experiences. What are positive experiences for children? We know that having adults that care about them is a positive childhood experience that can help balance out those adverse. We can't keep children from having adverse childhood all adverse childhood experiences, but we can add in the positive, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's really what we focus on in Safe Baby Court. What can we do to minimize the potential trauma that these children are going to face by even just being in the system, by even whatever happened to get the attention of DCS or the courts. And so that's really kind of what we focus on. We want to make sure that those babies aren't being bounced around every time. We think, and I was in a child and family team meeting once when I worked for CASA, where they just went and they moved a baby. There was no transition plan. And I said, I asked, well, what's the transition plan? They're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just a baby. And I said, oh, no, it does. It really matters. Like there needs to be, because it was going from a foster home to a relative placement. And that was definitely a better situation for the child, especially since the parent wasn't looking like they were going to engage in services. And so the child was probably going to be adopted. And I think she has since. So it was a better placement, but all that baby knew was the foster home. And so to have that connection, somebody's caring and you're building that trust and bonding with that person. And then all of a sudden you never see them again.
Yeah.
We think because they don't have language, it didn't affect them, but it did.
Yeah.
And we know now that trauma that's caused by doing things like that, like completely cutting off the person that cared for them and took and loved them and sang with them and fed them. And now that person's no longer there, that causes trauma that can live deep inside of our bodies until we can get help for it when we're older. And so that's really my job, is to make sure that whatever is in the best interest of their mental health and physical health. We obviously want to keep kids mentally or physically healthy. They need to be able to be fed and all that stuff. And that's why a lot of times DCS gets involved. The parents, for one reason or another, aren't able to do that type of stuff. Or they go to jail or, whatever. And so we need to make sure that we're having these transition plans in place. So we need to make sure that the mental health of the child is our deciding factor. That's what's driving the bus in Safe Baby Court, is what is going to be in the best interest of the baby or the family, the kids. And so it's a little bit different. Our system is set up. The judicial system is slowly turning through drug court and mental health court and now Safe Baby Court. We're slowly turning the ship, but it's always been very punitive. That's kind of the whole nature of court, is you made a mistake, here's your punishment. You made a mistake, here's your punishment, right? Well, we have learning that those punishments are compounding and not solving the problem.
Right.
And so a lot of times, people will go to jail for a minor offense, but then get in with the wrong crowd in jail, or, it could be instead of addressing the addiction, we put them in jail where they have access to other addicts. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just really, we fuel the fire a lot of times in the judicial system. And I don't know if people have just changed over the years or our society is different, but what used to work 100 years ago isn't working,
Well, there's so many things that we didn't know back then. The study of mental health is profound. Right. And I have a kid that's a counselor, one of my sons, and I'm just happy anniversary to you two today, by the way, Caleb and Rachel. But he works with kids, And I'm gonna,
Awesome.
I mean, he works with children in the foster system,
He needs to
and
be here in Robertson County.
oh my gosh, I know I would love to have him, but he is brilliant. I mean,
That's awesome.
he is just absolutely brilliant. Some of the things you're saying to me, I'm like, I've heard Caleb say some of the same
Yeah.
kinds of things about those early childhood traumas. And here's something too that we don't realize is parents that do the absolute best we know how to do. Your children are still going to have some adverse childhood trauma.
Absolutely.
It is going to happen because he and I talk about the things that maybe, something would happen with a sibling or something. And he's like, well, think back on this and this. And I'm like, oh man, yeah. You were talking about how kids are affected by this transition. We had, when I moved, we lived in Hendersonville for a year with our twins. They were born in Hendersonville and they were a year old when we moved and made the transition from Hendersonville to here and bought the farm and all that kind of stuff. So while we were doing that moving thing, I had 2 1-year-olds. I took them to Kentucky and they spent a little over a week and maybe even 10 days. I can't remember exactly, but it was an extended period of time with my family, my parents and my brother and my sister-in-law. And they took care of them. I will never forget going to get them and how they reacted to me.
Yeah, you left me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it was hard on me, but we just, it was one of those things I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
But I seeing one of my twins, Jeremiah, just cling to my sister-in-law. It was just like, oh, and not even turning away from me.
Right.
He was a year old. Now that we had that transition was right because within a minute he was reaching out to me and it was fine. And he always saw his Aunt Laurie. But I think that probably gave them a special relationship because in the back, they're both still more close to that side, to my sister-in-law and my brother and all them, particularly Caleb. But that affected them.
It did. Yep.
And you don't want to think about it. But that affected them.
Well, and it's one of those situations where you couldn't, it was definitely the safer situation for them,
Sure,
right? Because, being underfoot while you're trying to pack up a house is not necessarily, I've had twins, I cannot imagine what that would have been like to move when they were babies. So, yeah, it was a safer situation, and there maybe wasn't you could have maybe not prepared them any better, Yeah. Nowadays, luckily we have FaceTime. You could have FaceTimed them every day and all, but you couldn't back then. So yeah, and that's actually one of the things that we do. One of our big important things is to keep that bond with the parents intact. And so we try to do as many phone visits or personal visits as possible. And so that's kind of a really important part, is to have a lot of visits so that bond isn't broken. And a lot of times visitation gets pulled because of the behavior of the parent.
Yeah.
And in Safe Baby Court, we don't want to do that. If there's any chance at all that the parent's going to be able to turn it around, which they are only qualified for Safe Baby Court if they are a willing participant. They really want to engage in services. And because we don't have the capacity to help everybody who doesn't want to. We have a lot of parents that come into the system and they just don't want to do it, or they can't, or the addiction's too strong at that moment. And so that's not really the people that we're focusing on serving, because can only take 20 families.
Wow.
That's my max. And I don't think we'll even get that high in Robertson County, but that's kind of really trying to make sure that they keep that bond, whatever is there, and improve upon it instead of breaking it and starting over again, which has kind of been what we've done in the past. You start out with 1 hour visit, and then you start out with 2 hour visits, and and you kind of build up. And if the parent does anything wrong, they go back to 1 hour visits. And that's kind of been, I've done child welfare in 3 different states now. And so every state's kind of different, but that's kind of been the trend, that if the parent does something wrong, the child gets punished because they don't get to see the parent anymore. So the child's already been the one that's gotten punished.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if they're having a lot of visits with parents and then they're having a lot of behavior afterwards, that's also a sign that we need to look at what's going on there. So yeah, that's really keeping the child and them and their needs at the forefront of the case, and not what's mom doing, what's dad. Yes, we want to worry about that. We want to work with the parents, but that's not going to drive our decisions as far as where the child lives and how often visitations happen and stuff. As long as the parents are safe, we want them to continue to have that bond with their children.
Well, and I think it's so important because, I've had experience with different ones that maybe have been adopted. Just like I was talking about my sister-in-law. I don't think she'd mind me sharing this, but she's from a family of all adopted children. I believe all of her siblings except her know who her biological parents are, and she does not. I don't think she does to this day. And I remember thinking, she is so close to her boys, so close to her boys. And I believe part of that reason is those are the only blood relatives she knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think about that when I think about her, and I can't imagine. People want to know where they're from. They
Absolutely.
want to know a little bit about them, even if, and like I said, in my sister-in-law's situation, I think she was adopted as a newborn, and so her parents are the only ones she ever really knew. But there's in a situation, I'm thinking about some of the students I've had. One in particular that talked about a parent that had been in and out of jail, but they still had a relationship. And now that they're older, they wanted to have a relationship with the parent. I'm trying to be vague on, whether it's a mother or father, but they wanted to have a relationship with the parent. And I think primarily because even though they weren't with them early on, there was some kind of a relationship that was maintained.
Yeah.
And that's healthy.
It is healthy.
You know?
You can't have too much bonding.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of times in our old way of looking at adoption, we wanted to replace the birth parents. You can never replace the birth parents. You can be a parent also, but you can't replace them because their birth parents will always be paramount, or not paramount, but they'll always be important in their lives.
Right.
And so whether they have contact with them or not, my brother and his wife have they have 2 children that they've adopted, and then 2 embryo adoptions.
Wow.
Wow. And so like their whole family is kind of like, so she carried the youngest 2 are twins, and the embryo adoptions are twins. And so like she carried them, and then the other 2 she didn't, but it's been really cool. They pray for those families, all the families, cool. Like the embryo donated families, and the birth families. They pray for them every night. They talk about them. They have pictures of them. They're some of the most well-adjusted kids I've ever met. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The fact that they didn't want to break that bond.
Yeah.
And, that they wanted to just add to it. And so yeah, I think it really helps. Kids can't have too much love.
I agree. Isn't that the truth? I think that's one of the things we forget is that and that's one thing I have really learned working with Celebrate Recovery, working with Recovery Court and all these things is, we joke about how we tussle over who's going to get the grandkids and who's going to do this and all this kind of stuff. And I had the pleasure of having one of my grandsons with me last week. And, we're always like, well, I want to do that. Well, isn't it wonderful that that my grandkids have all these people loving on them? You can't have too much of that. Don't ever fight with your in-laws over it's my turn. Stop. You've got all these people loving them. Y'all work it out. Y'all be adults, but and just keep loving on them because there's so many kids I meet. I mean, especially when I was working full time at the church in the benevolent center, and we would be up there, and you would have people living in their car and they've got kids with them, and you just look at those little faces and look in those eyes, and you're just like, my gosh, can you imagine? Can you imagine living under those circumstances? I just can't. And, I'm so thankful for the work you do. So thankful for the work you
coming.
Do. Who?
Catherine is here.
Well, she is here.
Yeah.
So this is the newbie here.
Yeah.
So you come on in here. Let's say hello. Come on in here. Come on in here and sit down.
We knew Brian wasn't coming, but we didn't know you were.
I guess you and I we had talked about you coming last. I am so sorry. I completely forgot. But I told Tiffany, I said, I saw the note that Brian was out, but then I forgot that we had confirmed you were coming today. Hi, Catherine.
Hi,
it's good
good
to
morning.
see you. Y'all know each other?
Yes, we do.
So this is cute. We just need Ace.
I know.
Come on, Ace.
Succession.
Come on in here. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
And Catherine, what's your last name?
Stuart.
Stewart. I couldn't remember. But so The job of at United Way, where you're the community outreach person, is that what you're called?
Community impact, but yes.
Community impact. That was Tiffany for 2 years, and then she has gone to Safe Baby Court, and now Catherine is our community impact person. So, will you be working with her in some way? Will you guys cross? Well, you're not a nonprofit. You're part of the court.
Yeah, I'm a government entity, but we all are working in the Robertson County. So absolutely, like I work a lot with their partners, are now my providers, and we, a lot of the Good Morning Robertson County type stuff, and all the, involved with the chamber and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's all giving back to our community.
And well, she told me she'd work on the Robertson County Prevention Coalition.
Yeah,
so
I got the email.
So yes,
I'm gonna be there.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Well, and that's something. Do you want to put when is that next meeting?
The next meeting is August 8th at the Stokes Brown Public Library. We've kind of taken a little bit of a break during the summer, just with a lot of stuff going on. Like once it was Safe Baby Court training, or the state came and trained us, and so yeah, August 8th at the Stokes Brown Public Library, we are working on getting a grant to be able to fund a position so we can have a prevention specialist here in Robertson County. We are really lucky. We are surrounded by neighbors that have very active and thriving prevention coalitions. Sumner County, Cheatham County, and Williamson County. Davidson County probably does too. I don't really know about theirs though. But those three counties particularly have got some phenomenal prevention coalitions that are doing fantastic work, that are really helping to combat the epidemic that we have around opioids and drug use in general. And so that's really our focus right now. We finally got the prevention coalition, we've done the toolkit, we've done everything to get ready for funding. And so now we're just kind of waiting for the right grant to come along.
Okay.
So we thought we had a federal grant in line, but we needed matching money, and the county wasn't able to match what we needed. And so we had to kind of let that one go. And, but we're hoping to get it funded and get the prevention coalition going. That's the biggest thing. Like, I've worked so long in child welfare that I'm like, if we could just stop people from doing drugs before it starts, we can prevent these adverse childhood experiences. A lot of child welfare revolves around substance misuse. And of course, we know substance misuse, a lot of that comes from trauma. And so it's just this cycle, right? That we're just going around and around and around. And so we want to be able, if we can stop substance misuse, help people find positive, healthy ways to deal with trauma and recover from trauma, not just deal with it, but recover from it, then we can hopefully prevent the next generation from coming into the child welfare system. And we have we have many generations, such as generation after generation after generation. And we know here in Robertson County of at least a few families that it's been at least 4 generations that,
incredible,
that they've been in the child welfare system. And we don't want that.
Yeah.
We want families to thrive and be healthy and have healthy relationships where they're being fulfilled and more trauma is not perpetuated. And so that's our goal and our aim. And I feel like Safe Baby Court really deals with the very basic, the earliest prevention possible, right? We're the 0 to 3, making sure that those children's mental health is being observed and focused on. And Safe Baby Court is it's a federal grant, but it goes through the administrative office of the courts, the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, and oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the third one. Oh, Department of Health and Services. So DCS, yeah. So those 3 departments for our state administer this program. And so there were 13 already up and running before we came along, and then we were part of an 8 county edition. And this year in the budget, they asked for 5 more. So they're hoping eventually to have it throughout the whole entire state. But right now, we're kind of at the beginning. We feel very lucky. They've been doing it in Davidson County for about 10 years. And so I have people that have a lot of experience and that can teach me, but we're also kind of early on in the implementation. And every time I've heard, the commissioner for the Department of Child Services, it's the number one thing she talks about, because it's the one thing that's really working really well in child welfare is the Safe Baby Court program. So
I love it. I'm so glad for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And I've had so many people ask me about it because, again, they know we're friends. I'm like,
Yeah.
I really don't know. And we'll move on to the United Way stuff. And I know you've got a meeting to get to.
Yeah.
Do you work with Judge Perry and all them too?
So Judge Perry, well, Magistrate Stark is the over Safe Baby Court, and then Judge Perry is kind of over that. So in the hierarchy, yeah, he's in there, but he doesn't have a lot to do with it except signing all my purchase requests.
Oh, I gotcha. That's funny. But
he doesn't have a lot to weigh in on it, but Magistrate Stark really does. She's had a lot of input, and she's the one I'm directly working with because she oversees the child welfare cases.
right. And I've got to get her back in here. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But what you were saying about this generational thing, Judge Perry has talked about that so often. And people who I've talked with in recovery in the things that I've been exposed to, generational is such an issue. It is such an issue. And I mean, you do have the situations where somebody just randomly gets addicted that doesn't have any addiction in their family. That happens because you never really know if you're going to be somebody that's going to be prone to it. If you take
Right.
pain pills and things like that, guys, don't mess with that stuff. Take it seriously because you could have an addiction issue. But the generational thing is just huge.
Well, and a lot of times, if it does just randomly pop up, it's usually related to a trauma. So the painkillers often
Really?
come after you've experienced a trauma, right? Like you've been in a major car accident or something, and then you get the painkillers. And so not only we address the physical pain, we take them to the hospital, we fix the bones, we do the surgery. We don't address the trauma of being in a major car accident where you almost lost your life. We don't, that's not standard procedure. And so then we give them painkillers because they're in a lot of pain, and it fixes both. It fixes both the emotional trauma and the physical trauma. And even after the physical trauma heals, we're now addicted to it for the emotional trauma.
Wow.
And so a lot of times, even if we've grown up I grew up in an amazingly wonderful, supportive family, but even if we've grown up in that kind of situation, if we don't learn how to deal with our trauma and process our trauma and heal from our trauma, we will find ourselves addicted to something. Whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's screens, whether we'll numb ourselves out one way or another. And so that's one of the things that we really need to learn how to address and how to better. And I really feel like that ship's turning. I was just in the health council meeting yesterday, and I don't even remember who the woman was who was speaking, but she said that they were responded to a suicide. The police officers, she said, that responded to that incident were so caring. And so these are the Springfield police officers. Shout out to them. They came in trauma informed. They cared. They showed support. They weren't just in there to, arrest people or whatever. Like they really showed. So I do feel like the ship is turning. We are starting to be trauma informed, starting to understand people's mental health so much better. But that's one of the things that we really need to learn how to address better is when somebody goes through a major physical trauma, it is an emotional, mental one also. Because there's no way you get that close to death and it doesn't affect you.
Right. So much. I appreciate so much you coming in and explaining this to us. And
anytime.
we'll let y'all switch seats.
All
And
right.
is there anything we've missed that you want to tell people about how they can contact you, anything like that?
Not yet. We are going to have, so keep a lookout on our social medias. We do have a Facebook page. I have an Instagram page, but I can't get them to connect. So just let's focus on Facebook for right now. It's Robertson County Safe Baby Court. Follow that for any updates because we will be doing like a launch ribbon cutting party thing.
It's that new.
Yeah, it's brand new. Like we just finished actually spending last year's grant. Now it's kind of writing policies and procedures, and probably within the next month or so, we're going to have like a ribbon cutting and a launch party, and then we'll be open for taking.
You?
That's me. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not
I'm
the
gonna
cutest
follow.
baby. Yep, follow me. Follow me, and I also post a lot of stuff about services that are available for families right now, and like any early childhood mental health tips and stuff like that. And so there are great things to share out, especially to those young moms who are just, they're struggling too, to try to figure out what are those boundaries? Well, how do I love my kid, but also make sure that they don't grow up to be a spoiled brat? Like, those are things that I really struggled a lot with. And still struggle with, I'm like, what, they need to be hard enough, but not too hard. Like it's just this thing. And so
finding that balance.
Yeah. Finding that balance. So follow along. And I often will post little stories about where we're at on our journey of getting the development aspect of it done and ready to start helping families. So
I was already following you. I was like, I'm already following. So there you go. Thank you, Tiffany Thomson with the Robertson County Safe Baby Court. Thank you so much, and I will be seeing you later, my friend. Love you. See you later. We're going to let Catherine slide over into the hot seat now. Let me do my break real quick. We're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. If you've been listening to the show at all, you know I talk about them every day because they are our longest running full-time sponsor, and we love them a lot. Appreciate them so much sponsoring this program and bringing it all to you and helping us to understand the real estate community. There's just, I have questions all the time. I'm not wanting to sell my property, anything like that. But if I were wanting to, having a marketer in your pocket like Barry, he was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 plus years in Nashville. That experience is priceless, guys, when it comes to the real estate table and making sure people see your property in the best light. Rebecca, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. So let's say I decided I wanted to, downsize. I'm getting older, things like that. She's an expert at that. I'm not wanting to do that. What we're interested in right now, we're actually interested in the property around us because one of my boys would like to build up on top of the hill. Well, we need road access. So Barry and Rebecca are keeping an eye on those properties around us that might be able to give them that kind of access to where we could allow them to utilize some of the property that we have that maybe is just not as easily accessible. But those are the kinds of things you can come to the table with and say, hey, can you help me out with this? And they're experts at all of that. They have they're part of the Exit team. Now they have Exit Prime Realty. They were part of the Garden Gate team for a long time, but they took they went from the Garden Gate team and they decided to add a new branch in the Exit tree. So it's still the same great team, new name, Exit Prime Realty. They took her agency office out of White House, combined it with the brokerage office that Barry has here on the downtown square, combined those two for a new branch in the Exit tree. So same great team, same great service. Barry and Rebecca from Cross Plains. They've been there for nearly 30 years, but they're originally from Kentucky. So while they specialize in Robertson County properties, they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. You can reach out to them. Here's Rebecca's number, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Always let them know. Captain Stewart's in the house. Hello. I'm so sorry. I forgot we had the conversation saying, hey, I'm going to come. I'll be in here, but Brian will be out. I'm a lunatic. But anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
So how's the new job? How's it? You settling in?
Yep, loving it. Coming out of the honeymoon phase and into the understanding exactly what I'm doing phase. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I'm covering Robertson, Cheatham, and parts of Davidson County.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
But you're here. But
Yep,
your office
yeah, my
here.
main office is here. Yep.
That's
yep.
what I thought.
Right here in the United Way.
Off the downtown square, kind of in
Yeah.
behind the right behind the
We're by the UT, we're downstairs, the UT
I started to say
extension.
Vol State, and I'm like, no,
Nope.
wrong one. UT Extension Office.
Yeah,
UT
yeah.
Extension Office. I had I just the wrong college in my head. But so there, if you know where the UT Extension Office is, they're around back downstairs.
That's correct.
And so if you have any needs there, now, are you in the office a lot?
I am in and out of the office.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't have exact office days per se. And it's like today I'll be there all day.
Well, very good.
So, but yeah, no, right now I'm out meeting a lot of our funded partners and just establishing those relationships and making sure that we meet face to face and that they know who I am and I understand exactly what they need from United Way and if there's anything else that we can help them with or any challenges that they have and see what we can do to assist them.
And so why don't you explain to people what a funded partner is? Can you help us with that? And
yeah,
'cause,
so
that's something I hear from United Way all the time.
yeah.
And so what does that mean?
Yeah, so that it's a partner that it works with United Way, and then they apply for the different grants, and then we fund them, and we give them proceeds depending on what they're asking for and the amount and all of that. And then basically they're using those funds to give back to the community or help or utilize for whatever their purpose is.
Right. And we have said this many times. When I first sat down in this chair, we talked about the chamber being the bridge builder to the commercial companies, to the businesses and things like that. United Way is the bridge builder to the nonprofits. And I never understood that. It's so funny because I had so many questions about United Way early on. I've been in broadcasting a long time, and United Way has always been a presence. We would do remote, and United Way would be there. It'd be if something United Way sponsored, and I never really knew what it was. And I have learned so much sitting in this seat about United Way and what their true mission is, and that is giving people access to what's available and the way that they help. That's one thing Brian talks about whenever they go in and they do these campaigns within a company. They're like, okay, we want everybody to give if you can. And then one of the parts of that is when they become a funding partner, then they double down on make sure your employees know that if they're having trouble with their rent, there's options out there. If they're having, issues where they need to get pointed to something in recovery, there's so many opportunities and issues in making those connections, right?
Yeah, and there's so many different partners that we have. If you look on the United Way website, on the bottom it does show you the different partners that in the different counties that we work with, and then there are still even more than that. So it's one of those things that if you need something, you can always call 211.
That's I was just getting ready to go.
So
there. Yeah.
you can do 211, or I even had somebody yesterday call and say. They called me directly and they said, hey, I'm having this problem. I said, all right, if you need clothing, you need to go to COPE. If you food, United Ministry, just being able to help bridge that gap and helping people know that there are different resources in Robertson County and people are here to help.
We have an enormous amount of resources here in Robertson County.
Yes.
That's what's so phenomenal and so beautiful about what we have going on here in this county. I just can't say enough about it. Cannot say enough about it. We are just. I was actually some of the things I was able to take some donations over to COPE the other day, and it's just so thankful to be able to hand off things that were precious to my parents and say, here, use these to help the community because I know what they're doing. And it's just because that y'all vet them. You vet them and make sure that they're people who are doing what they say they're doing. They don't just become a community. They don't become a partner without saying, okay, y'all vet them and check them out.
Yeah, there's a process that they go through.
So what do you have? This is Catherine Stewart. She is the new Community Impact representative of United Way here in Robertson County. And also, you said
Cheatham?
And
Parts of Davidson.
Parts of Davidson.
Yep.
And so, but she's officed here. She's ours. And we know she's here. But you live locally, right?
Yeah, I live here in Springfield. Yep.
Yeah. So, but we're very excited for you to take on this position. What kind of stuff do you have that we need to know about today?
So right now we've got Stuff the Bus. So it's our 16th annual Stuff the Bus school supply collection drive for elementary school students, and that's in all the 9 county service areas of United Way. So some of the school supplies that they need are colored pencils or folders, the 2-pack, the durable. Glue sticks, markers, notebooks, pencil sharpeners. If you go to the United Way GreaterNashville.org, you can actually sign up. You can download the supply poster, and then you can sign up as well.
Okay.
So
and get all the list of the things. Now, when is the Stuff Your Bus? What are the times that they're going to be at Walmart again? It's because it happens at Walmart, doesn't it? Or are they stuffing the bus? Or is it just... So that's one thing. I hear stuff the bus and I think, okay, they've got a bus and it's at Walmart. So is it, or is it just kind of figuratively we're stuffing the bus?
I believe it's figuratively. So
Okay.
on August 6th from 7 to 9 a.m., that's when the volunteers help greet the students and arrive for the first day of school and pass things out.
Okay.
But online, there's all of the information in regards to...
Because that's the thing. There will be, I mean, there are different things where there'll actually be a physical bus usually where they fill it up. But I think the as far as the overall umbrella of Stuff the Bus, it is one of those figurative kind of terms. We're stuffing the bus with all the, so what I'm saying is because it's like, I think Stuff the Bus, it's like, well, do I need to go to Walmart and fill it? No, this is in like I said, the figurative way. You can go online. You can this is something that we had to drive home with a lot of people when I was working at the Benevolent Center. People would want to come in and just bring us a bag of canned goods, which is wonderful and good. And we, love anything that you bring into a nonprofit is a blessing. But you would be surprised at what nonprofits can do with your dollar more than you can. And that's something that is huge. Would you not say that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, so for delivering the supplies, if you are a collection site, so all of the supplies will be delivered to Nissan Stadium on Monday, July 15th at 9:15 a.m. until noon.
Okay.
And then they will send you the detailed drop-off information as well.
So if you do want to collect the specifics, like she was saying, like Catherine was saying, the glue sticks and the folders and all that, you absolutely can. But don't turn away from just making a monetary donation because they can stretch that dollar further most often. And that's something I think we forget. I mean, when it comes to food purchases, we, buy from Second Harvest and all that kind of, all those sorts of things. And there are ways to bulk buy. So don't, going out with your kids and shopping and getting things for other people, that's a wonderful thing to do. But you can just make a monetary donation, is what I'm saying, through United Way. So
Yes.
we're talking with Catherine Stewart. She is with United Way. Greater Nashville technically is the
Technically, yeah. that's what it
Greater
is.
Nashville, but we have an office right here in Robertson County, the best office. We're partial, and she and Brian will come in here on the 7:30 to 8 on Thursdays to update us on all the things going on with their partners around town. Do you have anything else going on that's big, or is it all about getting back to school right now?
Right now, it's mostly getting back to school, and
Yeah.
for myself personally, just meeting all of the partners that I work directly with and making sure I create those relationships. And
Yeah.
it's
How long have you been in the job now? Are we at
this
a
is
month?
week 4.
This is week 4.
Yeah.
Right at 1
Right
month.
at one-
Oh,
yeah,
bless,
1
bless. And that's a transition. What were you doing before you were at United? Before you came to United Way?
I worked at the Y. I worked
Oh,
at
that's
the-
right.
yeah.
We had that. I see. We've had these conversations. I just, it's the summer's been a blur. It's so funny. I have, I don't know if you know who Muriel Barnett is.
No.
Okay, she's a friend of mine, but she lives up here in Cooperstown, and she was a teacher for 31 years
Oh, wow.
and just retired. Well, her birthday was last week, and she said always until she retired, she would have her birthday, and then it was, I got to get ready for go back to school. Because it was always after the 4th of July, if you're a teacher, that's where your mind goes. Even though you got a few weeks left, your mind immediately goes, you've got that first week of summer, but now we're in back to school mode. Big. I'm sorry, kids. We just are. Kids are like, shut up. We don't want to hear it. But we're in back to school mode big time, kind of getting in those last little blast of summer.
Oh, yeah.
And we're right back at it because here in Robertson County, the teachers are back. Let's see today. Okay. I'm wanting to say 3 weeks from Monday, the teachers go back and the kids come back that following Tuesday, the next day on Tuesday, because I think we go back on August 5th and the kids are on August 6th, do a half day, and then they're all day on the 7th. Right back at it.
Right back
So
at it,
I love
yes.
it. So it's here we go, guys. We're back in, we're getting ready for the 24-25 school year.
I know.
Man, that
My
is
kids
crazy.
are not ready. They're not ready
They're
for
like,
summer to end. They're
"No."
holding on to every moment.
Yeah. It's so funny.
So-
Well, and I'm going to tell one on Tiffany's, her 2 oldest boys have been helping me out on the farm and having to roll them out early, because they're still kind of in summer mode, and so it's kind of funny. I'm dragging those sweet boys out and say, come on, let's get some work done. And, but any teenager that's still, well, her oldest one's technically graduated, so he's part of the working world now. But any kid that has to get up early in the summertime, it's like, don't make me. But you got to get back into the rhythm of it, guys. We're talking with Catherine Stewart. She is our community impact partner, our community impact person for our partner for United Way, because community impact representative. What would you call yourself exactly?
I would say, yeah, community impact liaison.
Liaison. There you
Maybe
go.
is the-
There's a better
yeah,
word. I
yeah,
like
I
that
don't-
word. I like that word better. I love it.
Bridging the gap.
And bridging the gap and building the bridges to our nonprofits in the community. So if somebody wants to become a partner, what would you tell them the process? I mean, would you just have them come in and apply, or how does that work? What's that process?
So what I would recommend that they do is they go online to the UnitedWayGreaterNashville.org,
Uh-huh.
and through there, there's information about if for the getting involved, if they want to be in regards to like workplace campaigns or any society groups, events, meetings. We've got volunteer opportunities. Everything is listed on the website, and you just move forward from there.
Okay.
Or if they have any additional questions, then they can reach out to me directly.
Have you done any work with Raise Your Hand? And Dr. K, is that what we call her?
Yeah, she's actually in the office with me, but I have not done yet because I'm still
Yeah.
getting my feet. It's just starting, but I have not done anything specifically with her. But yeah, she's in the office with me.
Okay.
Her desk is right next to mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's fun. And that's one of the things with school coming up. I would imagine that's a big thing right now is getting people involved with the Raise Your Hand program, which you can do through United Way link.
Yes.
And that's one of those programs that they do after school tutoring. And you can, if you want to be a part of this, guys, you need to sign up because now I don't think that the younger, I think because there's high school kids that can get involved in that. But if you're an adult, you've got to go through a background check. But the kiddos, you can go, and this is something too people forget. If you've got a kid that needs their volunteer hours because of Tennessee Promise or because they're in Beta Club or they're in one of the clubs that requires volunteer hours, United Way is a wonderful resource to call and say, hey, my kid's going to need these hours and don't wait until I need them this week. That's hard. I know that's one thing I've heard from Tiffany and Ace is we'll get those calls all the time. Oh, the deadline's coming up. You got some place where my kid can, volunteer. And sometimes there are places, but if you'll get in front of that, they can point you to all these different partners. And what happens with Raise Your Hand is one of those things.
Yeah.
And you can get involved with that. Go ahead.
Oh, and so if they want to be volunteers, they commit 1 hour per week up to 10 weeks. And then that's assisting the teachers with the reading assignments and tutoring students individually or in the small groups.
Yeah. And you can absolutely get your kids to sign up for that. If you're an adult and you want to sign up for that, that's something I still want to do. I just haven't been able to get there yet, but it's on one. It is definitely on my list of things that I'm like that is something I really want to be a part of because man, when you work in these little kids' lives, I want to because I want to have that experience of being able to tutor some young kid that eventually ends up in my classroom. I want that journey. You know what I mean? I would love to see that. I think that would be just a wonderful thing. But that's Raise Your Hand. So Dr. Kay's there sitting there with you. Anything else that you think we need to cover before we've got a few minutes left, not a ton of time here, but anything else on your list of things we need to cover?
Not really off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's
just get to know Catherine
yeah.
and know that United Way is there to make those connections for you and build those bridges to all the different nonprofits. Now that's one thing, and this is something I know that Charlene Sullivan actually has been in comments here on social media. She's the one who runs My Father's House.
Okay,
if you know Charlene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think she has kind of stepped into the role of working with Laundry Love. Do you know anything about Laundry Love? Because that was something that Tiffany was involved in. It wasn't necessarily a United Way thing.
Right.
But that's something that's kind of, are y'all going to be able to work with United? Does United Way, is that one of your community partners, Laundry Love, or not?
So that is something that's kind of more that Tiffany kind of spearheaded and took on.
Right.
So I'll be able to assist with that, but not to the same extent just because I'm covering multiple counties.
I gotcha.
And so I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not just strictly Robertson, so I don't have the same amount of time to just evolve into that. But yeah, we're more than willing to help.
Do you know who is in charge? Because I know Charlene had a big part in it, but and the only reason I bring it up is because we talked a lot about it in the past, and it is something that I'm wanting to say it's the third Friday.
It's the third Friday.
The third Friday up at Sisters Coin Laundry.
Yep, at 7:30.
Yeah, and if you want to be a part of that, just show up. And also make donations to that because that's one of those things they go through and just an insane amount of laundry.
Yeah.
It is crazy. But there's so many volunteer opportunities like that here in the community. And if you reach out to Catherine, she can help point you in the right direction. Or stop in. You actually are going to be in the office today. So they could stop in and see you and meet you and say hello and welcome her to the United Way community. We're so excited that you're here.
Thanks. I'm excited too.
And let me do my last break and then we'll come back and we'll just completely wrap it up. A couple of things here in the community too I need to mention before we finish up. But let's talk about Veterans Motorplex. They are a summer full-time sponsor, and we love talking about everything happening at Veterans Motorplex. Just continue to remind you, though, if you want to know what's going on at Veterans Motorplex, you need to follow and you need to look up Highland Rim Speedway. They kept that social media presence because there were so many followers, and they didn't want to lose that. And it's one of those things. Highland Rim Speedway has like 19,000 followers. I want to get that over 20. We need to have more people following. Go in and follow Highland Rim Speedway, and that will keep you up to date on Veterans Motorplex. And let's show some movement on that because this is one of the best kept secrets in Robertson County. For if you're new and you're not familiar with what goes on at our speedway, you just are missing it. It is so much fun. I did not know I liked going to the races, but it is a blast. I went several times last year, and racing season goes through October. I haven't made it this summer yet. It's been just so busy, but I will get there very, very soon. I'm going to get my grandson out there. I want him to experience that because it is the coolest thing. I've got to talk to Jerry and see if they're going to be doing the big wheel. They had the 18-wheelers they raced last year. I saw that. That was so cool. But they have got all kinds of special stuff going on. They did take a break for 4th of July week. They were not racing 4th of July weekend. They'll be back at it this weekend as long as it doesn't rain. The reason why you need to definitely follow them is if you want to go to the races, following Highland Rim Speedway and keeping up to date. And hey, is there a rain delay? Is there a rain cancellation? There's been times they've even moved it to Sunday because of rain. But you need to follow them to make sure you know everything that's going on. They're at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. And again, around for a long time. A lot of history there. A lot of the great legends of racing have raced down those tracks, and we just can't say enough about it. To reach out to them, a $40 ticket will get up to 8 people in, up to 6 kids and 2 adults for a $40 ticket price. Can't beat it. When you get out to Veterans Motorplex, you find Jerry and be sure and let him
Sorry. The last thing I would say is if you can follow on Facebook, we have the United Way Robertson County, and so I started adding stuff to the Facebook page and trying to make sure that that's really up to date, and it's got a lot of more local information on there, and it's got when I'm meeting different partners, taking pictures, uploading that, and so people get to see, who is supporting United Way in the community and what we are doing to help give back.
I love it. Absolutely. United Way right here in Robertson County. Cannot say enough about it. And we love that, that y'all come in and keep us up to date on all things. Brian will be coming back in here next week, right?
Yes, he should be.
There you go.
He's on, I believe he's on vacation. So
yeah, he's got kiddos. Yeah. He's got kiddos as well. And they're trying to get that last blast of summer in as well. I do want to mention that the play is opening. The Robertson County Players, they have their play. And it is opening tomorrow night in Coopertown. And my plan is my friend Muriel and I are going to go to the play. They gave me tickets. And this is a musical. I've got some of my students that are in this thing. And it is the 12th, 13th, 14th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. The matinee's on the 14th, Sunday afternoon at 2. All other show times are at 7 p.m. It's at Coopertown Middle because there's renovations going on at IA at Innovation Academy. And so they're having it at Coopertown Middle. It is going to be fabulous. I know a lot of the people that are leads in this. The orchestra they've put together, incredible from what Danny tells me. You're not going to want to miss this play, guys. If you're a fan of musicals, get to this play. You're going to see some awesome talent. But again, it opens tomorrow night, and it runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week with a Sunday matinee at 2. Other showtimes are at 7, and then next week it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 7 p.m. showtimes. Do not miss that. And I've got one thing, too, from Lee Marie. There's a special thing where they're going around and they're reminding us that we have a call to pray and fast for our state this month from the governor. And so they're doing special events throughout the state. And ours will be Pray for Tennessee, Friday, July 26th, Robertson County Historic Courthouse, 11:30 for a worship time. They're going to have a program at 12. Put that on your calendar right now for Pray for Tennessee. Our event here in Robertson County is Friday, July 26th, 11:30 a.m. for worship, and then a 12 o'clock program right on the historic square here in Robertson County. And I think that's it. Everything good?
Everything's great.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. Tomorrow will be Faith Friday. I hope you'll be here.